Since we're talking about collaboration, let's continue on in that vein. Our first of our feature articles this week concerned a piece that appeared in actually last Tuesday's issue of Quality Digest Daily. Industry Pigeon launches trade network for industry trade professionals. Okay, so what is Industry Pigeon, you may ask? You may ask, all of you may ask. Well, Industry Pigeon is a social trade network that integrates networking and collaboration tools with practical business applications. Industry Pigeon connects people in trade communities and facilitates their day-to-day workflow. The site enables coworkers, partners, technical sales reps, and marketers to develop personal relationships and discover new contacts, products, and services. So it's a way to really get that collaboration going.
Right, and we'll talk about this, but it's really almost kind of an amalgamation of all the best tools from Facebook, LinkedIn, and so forth. I mean, but with an industry focus, and I think we're going to hear about that in just a second.
We will. To find out more about Industry Pigeon and how it can help industry professionals do their jobs better, we're joined now by the company's president and CEO, Robert Preville. Robert, are you with us?
I am. How are you?
All right, we're doing great. Thank you for joining us today and talking about IP, Industry Pigeon. Let's start with a little bit of background. Tell us about Industry Pigeon and why you started it.
Sure. Well, I'm a mechanical engineer by education and have been involved in a number of startups in the industrial space. Most recently, Global Test Supply, which I started about 7 years ago, grew it and recently sold it. We were an industrial distributor of electronic test and measurement instrumentation, metrology equipment and instrumentation. And we were managing relationships with dozens of vendors in our supply chain. Our ability to deliver timely customer service to our customer base was highly dependent upon our ability to get information back from our manufacturers. And as it turns out, despite rather sophisticated software running businesses behind the scenes, it was a very manual process for us to aggregate that information from our vendors and deliver it to our customers. So a light bulb went off and Industry Pigeon was born, and the idea was to take the best in breed of social networking functionality and build a collaborative platform that makes sense for business, that would allow businesses to not only manage communication and collaboration internally, but more importantly with the extended enterprise.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you brought up some of the other social media sites that we talked about, LinkedIn and Facebook. We have actually the site up on our screen share now. We want to kind of show it to the audience and let you, Robert, maybe help us understand a little bit about how this was constructed, what it's intended to do, and some of the functionality in terms of collaboration that IP, that Industry Pigeon can bring to the industry.
Sure. So Industry Pigeon is really focused on three areas: meeting people in your industry and the trade that you work in, sharing and collaborating with the people that you connect with online, and then building in workflow and practical business applications to facilitate some level of transaction and or initiate commerce. So,
well, if we can look on, Daniel, if we can put this up on the screen share here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so this is one way you can collaborate, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what you're looking at there is the Pigeon Post activity stream, similar to Facebook and LinkedIn. Industry Pigeon has an activity stream, which we think is a very effective means of communicating, much more efficient than, say, email or voicemail. And so what you can do here is, if you click on the "Who are you working with" pull down, your contacts on Industry Pigeon are grouped by the relationship types that you have with them in business: your customers, your vendors, your colleagues.
So, for instance, I have a colleague here, so I could add Belinda. This is going to be adding Belinda to my conversation. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
And then I also have you, so I could add you to the conversation. So this means any communication going forward, this is going to be just between the three of us then.
That's correct. It's a secure and private conference room style conversation.
And then if I just want to communicate with them, I would just, kind of similar to Facebook, I would just write whatever I want to write down here, and this is going to send basically post a message to all of these people, right?
That's correct. And similar to Facebook, you can also share website information, product data, upload files and attachments, and rich media like video.
And now the users will get an email. It'll tie into their Outlook or whatever other email platform they're using, and they'll get the message through that format as well, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Matter of fact, Industry Pigeon is fully integrated with email, such that if you get the notification of the message by email and you reply using Outlook or your iPhone or whatever email client that you use, that reply will automatically get attached to the conversation on Industry Pigeon without you ever having to log in.
One thing that our users are always really concerned about, of course, is best practices. We talk about best practices as a thing, as a procedure, protocol. If you're doing something right, you want to share it across your enterprise, and you want to share it with people that you work with. So, how does Industry Pigeon help people communicate with some of these rich media formats, perhaps, to share best practices?
Well, so Derek, you had mentioned Timothy's book on friction, and I think, in my experience, one of the primary reasons or causes of friction has to do with miscommunication or inaccurate communication. And when you have multiple people, not only within the same company, but across your supply chain, collaborating on a particular customer order or a particular engineering design project, miscommunication is inevitable. Industry Pigeon brings everybody into the fold in one place, where people that maybe aren't active in the conversation but want to monitor the conversation so that they can precipitate potential problems that other people might not be aware of. So I think what we're really doing here is streamlining communication in the extended enterprise, and I think in any quality process that has to be inherent.
I want to go back to something you mentioned a few moments ago, and that's the issue of security. And this is a big one, obviously, for anybody who works in a new media and online media environment. Talk about some of the security protocols that you've established, and how people can feel comfortable safely sharing some of these important documents. Some of these documents are certainly proprietary, and people need to know that the information that they're sharing on Industry Pigeon is safe. How do you address that?
Sure. So security really breaks down to two areas for us. One area is the functionality and how the interface works. Knowing who's on the conversation at all times should make you feel comfortable that your conversations are secure. There is no generic status updates whereby your communication goes out to who knows who. The other part of security for us has to do with the technical side of that. And this is a web-based cloud service application. And we can take advantage of various encryption techniques that are not available with more traditional vehicles like email or primarily email. So the ability to be able to have a conversation that's encrypted will prevent some savvy programmer from stealing that conversation off the internet and being able to decipher it.
Now, Robert, I think one thing you may have touched on, and I just want to elaborate just a little bit, is part of what happens when you're creating a profile and so forth is you're actually delineating what industry and sub-industry you are in, right? So that basically you're going to be collaborating or could collaborate with people that make sense for you to collaborate with. They're all within your industry or related industries. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. We are introducing the concept of the industry graph. So the analogy to Facebook would be Facebook created the social graph, whereby you connect with people based upon who you know and then based upon who they know. Well, in Industry Pigeon, the first thing you do as a new user is you follow. We have a built-in database of industry categories, and it's a taxonomy, so those categories relate to each other, and you follow your technical trade. So, for example, maybe you're following oscilloscopes, or maybe you're following CMM machines, and based upon the industries that you follow and how they relate to other industries and who's following those other industries, we can then present connection opportunities that make logical sense, similar to the way that you're going to meet people when you go to a trade show where the common theme is your industry.
Well, Robert, we're wrapping it up here, but before we go, and again, remind everyone out there, the website, www.industrypigeon.com is the site we're talking about with Robert Preville, the president and CEO. So, Robert, what's next? What does the future hold for Industry Pigeon, and where are you looking to take this here in the near to mid future?
Well, we are in the process of finishing our public beta, continuing to improve functionality. We're in the process of marketing Industry Pigeon so that we can drive users in. The more users in Industry Pigeon, the more value any particular user is going to get. And we hope it becomes the de facto standard by which companies would want to collaborate with their internally as well as with their extended enterprise. And it's a great tool to manage issues with your customers and your vendors and your reps and anybody that you do business with.
Okay. Well, thanks, Robert. That's been Robert Preville, President and CEO of Industry Pigeon, a new social media, social networking site for industry professionals. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Talk to you soon. Great stuff.
Great stuff.
Okay.
Okay.